Welcome back to Crawford-Clark Close-Up. In our James Bond countdown to next year's No Time to Die, we've made it to the final outing for Roger Moore's Bond. The end credits for Octopussy stated that James Bond will return in From a View to a Kill, which is actually the correct Fleming short story title, but the from prefix was dropped as pre-production began on Bond's 14th adventure. A View to a Kill would see Michael G. Wilson and Richard Maybaum, the screenwriting dream team from the 80s Bond adventures, work on a fresh new story. And for Richard Maybaum, the villain's caper on A View to a Kill is one of the best we've had, one of the most unexpected and most exciting. Whilst monopolising the microchip market and trying to flood Silicon Valley is an engaging plot for a Bond adventure, it's easy to see why people compare its plot to the superior Goldfinger irradiating the gold bullion in Fort Knox, achieved 21 years earlier. A View to a Kill also marks the first James Bond movie with Michael Wilson credited as a producer. He had been exec producer on Moonraker, Eyes Only and Octopussy, and a special assistant to his stepfather Cubby on Spy Who Loved Me. The original short story From a View to a Kill, published in the 1960 collection For Your Eyes Only, involved motorcycle carriers ferrying intelligence papers set in France. Michael Wilson explained how the decision was quickly made by the crew to return to film in France, having achieved a lot there on Moonraker. The filmmakers were able to utilise French landmarks, including the Eiffel Tower, for a big action sequence. Richard Maybaum got to work on a first draft treatment, delivering it in October 1983, where the French setting and the title were all that remained from Fleming's original vision. Bond is torpedoed ashore on an island, Grenada, Nicaragua, to rescue a beautiful young British female agent who is trapped there following a coup. The villain, named Zorn at this stage, plans to destroy Silicon Valley. In an updated draft dated December 15th, Zorn is now Zorin, and his consort becomes Mayday. A further revision in March 1984 introduces the pre-titles Ski Chase and Zorin's airship, and on April 4th, 1984, associate producer Tom Pevsner confirms in a memo that the title has been changed to A View to a Kill. Maybaum and Wilson's shooting script was delivered on June the 20th, 1984, and filming would take the cast and crew to France, San Francisco, Iceland, Switzerland and the UK from June until the end of the year. The first setback came a week into the start of principal photography when the 007 stage at Pinewood was in flames on June 27, 1984. Couple the burning of the largest soundstage in the UK with the fact that Moore was beginning to look like he was playing James Bond's father, and there was justifiable reason to think that Bond 14 was doomed before production could truly get underway. With the burning of the 007 stage, the filmmakers rearranged the schedule to shoot everything they could without using the 007 stage until it could be rebuilt. A View to a Kill has the distinction of being the only film in the series so far to open with a disclaimer about the use of the name Zorin in the film that is not intended to reflect actual companies or real people. The reason for this was that there was a company based at Silicon Valley with a name that closely resembled Zorin and a fashion designer around the time of release with the name Zoran. Michael Wilson forced for the disclaimer to prevent legal action being taken on the Bond producers. From there we head into one of the ugliest gun barrel sequences of the lot, before shooting in Iceland for the pre-titles. It's another ski chase akin to The Spy Who Loved Me, but far less effective. Moore is clearly shot in back projection in London and is looking significantly older than he did just 2 years earlier on Octopussy. The ski sequences are directed by Bond veteran Willy Bogner, and it seems to be solid, if an uninspiring opening sequence, until director John Glenn's idea of making Bond monoski across the lake to the song California Girls. To this day it sticks out like a sore thumb and turns the sequence into a farce. It's not even Beach Boys singing the track either, but an 80s cover band, Giddy Park. The less said about Bond cuddling up to Mary Stavin on a makeshift iceberg at the end of the sequence, the better. The sequence was the first big set piece in the can in the last week of June 1984. Thankfully, from here we launch into Maurice Binder's best title sequence since The Spy Who Loved Me, which screams the 80s in its garishness and use of colour, and features Duran Duran's huge theme song, which at that point was the highest charting Bond song in the UK and the US, reaching number 2 here and number 1 overseas. The song would also receive a Golden Globe nomination. The music for A View to a Kill is one of its strongest elements, with John Barry returning to the series for his penultimate film. This is one of Barry's most melodic scores, with Stacey's theme being the standout track, and the core melody of Duran Duran's theme is woven brilliantly throughout, in more reflective scenes and in action highlights. Roger Moore acquits himself admirably to the role for his final performance, though, as already stated, he appears to have aged drastically since Octopussy. We get the first of Moore's old man noises 18 minutes into the film, where Mayday holds him back from chasing her up the Eiffel Tower. It's also clearer in this film than perhaps any other that in a number of the action set pieces this is not Roger Moore performing, but his stunt double. Most notably, it's Martin Grace doubling for Bond on the Eiffel Tower, and Remy Julien driving the car that gets broken down to nothing across Paris. Star of original TV series The Avengers, Patrick Macnee, portrays Bond's ally Tibbet in the film, and Moore and Macnee clearly relished working together. Their moments together as they arrive at the chateau as James St. John Smythe and his butler are amusing to watch, and here again we have another ally who suffers a grim death. This time it's Mayday strangling Tibbet in the car wash, which is more chilling than it sounds. The MI6 crew return, and this marks a bittersweet final Bond outing for Lois Maxwell's Moneypenny. Having appeared in every Bond from Dr. No to A View to a Kill, Maxwell left an incredible mark on the series and on her interpretation of M's secretary. It's also fitting that she gets to venture out of the office for her final film, To Ascot. Amazingly, despite being such a presence in the series, the character of Miss Moneypenny spoke fewer than 200 words in total, with less than 20 minutes of screen time across those 14 films. Moore recalled his shock to hear of Lois Maxwell's passing in 2007. He regarded her as always fun, wonderful company to be in, and perfect casting. Maxwell had in fact asked Cubby about the possibility of her Moneypenny becoming the new M. Cubby took it on board, but felt that a female head of the Secret Service wouldn't be accepted. How times would change just a few years later. Robert Brown returns as M and gets to mimic Bernard Lee's persona more than he did in Octopussy by instructing Moneypenny to omit the byplay with Bond, and Brown's M looks more disgruntled in this film, even with Q barking at him "no lecture" when Q is trying to give his speech about the microchips. Another casting element of A View to a Kill that works in its favour is the villains. Academy Award-winning actor Christopher Walken is signed to play lead villain Max Zorin, and he's up there with Robert Davies Sanchez as one of the most sadistic in the series. Said Walken during production, "Every part is a challenge, and this is certainly different from anything I've ever done. It's exciting to be in a Bond movie." Moore and director John Glenn were equally impressed with the actor, commenting on the roundedness of his character and saying that he had a quirky edge about him. The part was initially offered to David Bowie, but he turned the role down. How fascinating would it have been to have David Bowie alongside Grace Jones's Mayday? Mayday marks one of the most flamboyant characters in the series, and the character arc she gets towards the end of the story is an engaging one. The only issue with Zorin as the villain is in his ruthlessness in the Mindset finale, gunning down all his men, and a couple of other scenes that play out almost identically to Goldfinger's Operation Grand Slam demonstration in Goldfinger, replaced here by Zorin's demonstration on his airship. Less impressive this time around is the main Bond girl, Stacey Sutton, played by ex-Charlie's Angel, Tanya Roberts. Moore remarked that he had a difficult time building a good rapport with Roberts and with Grace Jones on the set, as they would constantly be dashing to their handbags after every take to reapply their lipstick and face powder. Moore felt that he was extraordinarily patient and good-willed with the two actresses. He was more impressed, however, with Alison Doody in her first break in the movie business as the wonderfully named Jenny Flex, and Fiona Fullerton playing the Russian agent Pola Ivanova, who Moore had the arduous task of sharing a hot tub with for hours. It's a hard job, but someone's got to do it. There are a number of solid scenes in A View to a Kill. The Eiffel Tower jump with B.J. Worth doubling for Mayday is another excellent stunt, as is the burning of City Hall in San Francisco. It's a tense sequence despite Stacey's many screaming outbursts. The film is not without its duff moments, however. Whenever Willoughby Gray's dull Dr. Mortner appears on screen, the pace drags significantly. The fire truck chase across the streets of San Francisco is largely played for laughs, which is a shame, and we don't even need to mention Grace Jones and Roger Moore sharing a bed. The film had initially been set to wrap production on December 12, 1984, but the new 007 stage not being ready for filming until January 2nd, 1985, photography would actually wrap on January 15th. The Albert R. Broccoli 007 stage was officially opened by Roger Moore on January the 7th, 1985, during the cast and crew's lunch break whilst filming the Mine finale. The first unit finished principal photography on the 007 stage on January 16th, 1985, which coincided with the last day that Roger Moore filmed scenes as James Bond. The second unit continued with the destruction of the mine on the 007 stage from January 17th for a further week. Peter Lamont's sets are once again fantastic, particularly the Eiffel Tower restaurant set, constructed at Pinewood, the interiors of City Hall, and the enormous mine set for the film's climax. Director John Glenn decides not to tell Grace Jones about the sparking effects that have been added to the water when the mine is flooded, and her screams in the film are genuine during the scene. Scale models of the Golden Gate Bridge were constructed on the backlot at Pinewood, and from August 28, 1984, they were shot with models of Zorin's airship based on the design of the Fuji airship. The stunt doubles for Moore, Zorin and Stacy film on the real Golden Gate Bridge on October 6th and 7th, and Zorin's dummy plummets into San Francisco Bay on October the 9th. The finale of A View to a Kill is one of the biggest in the series to date, and the fight to the death between Bond and Zorin is well executed, Walken hamming up Zorin to the point where he laughs at his own fate before falling into the bay. Given the enormous support from the San Francisco authorities, Cubby insisted that the film's premiere would take place in the city. The premiere was held at the Palace of Fine Arts on 22nd of May 1985, and it was the series' first world premiere to be held in the US. The British premiere for the film was held on June the 12th, 1985, at the Odeon in Leicester Square, with a lavish after-party following the event. Though Octopussy would have been a far stronger exit for Moore's 007, A View to a Kill is nonetheless an entertaining romp, with some great action, a fantastic villain, and another solid performance from Moore as Bond. For Moore, A View to a Kill marks his weakest entry in the Bond canon. My only sadness was the sheer amount of violence, gunfire and explosions, killing scores of innocent Zorin employees in the finale. It seemed a little over the top in my mind, and not quite in the Bond tradition. That being said, Moore believes that Bond has endured as long as it has because the crew never cheat the audience. The money spent always goes up on the screen, and A View to a Kill is another example of money well spent. As the film is completed, Moore decides to leave the role he has made famous over the last 12 years. As he would candidly state, when they start running out of actors old enough to look as though they could be knocked down by Bond, and leading ladies are your mother's age when you started making Bond, then it's time to move on. Perhaps it's only fitting that we open Moore's Bond tenure with him in bed with an Italian agent, and close his chapter in the Bond universe with him in the shower with another Bond girl. After all, Moore's Bond is the lover-man Bond. Ultimately, despite the misfires, Knick-Knack, Miss Goodnight, Bond in Space, Moore's contribution to the series cannot be overstated. His films were also responsible for bringing us some series highs, the parachute jump in the pre-credits of The Spy Who Loved Me, and kicking Locke's car off the edge of the cliff in For Your Eyes Only, to name two of the best. He is the actor to have played the part the most times of all to date, and as former United Artists publicist Jerry Giroux has recognised, he has done more publicity for the Bond series than anyone else. Moore's late co-star Patrick Macnee remarked that Roger is the great man of the Bonds, and it's hard to disagree whether you're a fan of his interpretation of Fleming's secret agent or not. With A View to a Kill, we bid farewell to stunt coordinator Bob Simmons, who worked on the series as far back as Dr. No, the wonderful Lois Maxwell as the premier Miss Moneypenny, and Sir Roger Moore himself. Whilst A View to a Kill grossed less than Eyes Only and Octopussy had done before it, it still stood out as one of the big box office successes of 1985. In another series first, A View to a Kill ended the tradition of the film's title appearing in the end credits. For the first time in 1985, fans were simply teased with "James Bond will return," 4 words that still excite Bond fans at the end of every successive mission over 30 years later. It was now down to John Glenn, who had now established himself with 2 successful Bond adventures under his belt, to introduce a new Bond for the 1980s, a man who had been on Cubby Broccoli's radar for many years, the 4th incumbent to take on the role, Timothy Dalton. While A View to a Kill is most certainly not the best film for Moore to make his final bow, it still remains a testament to all that he brought to the world of James Bond on the big screen. As Moneypenny states, your dedication is most commendable. From Crawford-Clark Close-Up.
Take a chance on me.
Sorry. What are your thoughts on Moore's final Bond movie? Is it one of your favourites? Or were you a Bond fan in the 1980s looking forward to fresh blood to drive the series forward? Whatever your thoughts, let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this review, please subscribe at the top of the page. You can find Crawford-Clark Close-Up on Facebook and Twitter, and you can drop us an email with suggestions for future reviews on the channel to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com. Coming next, we'll be bringing you our top 5 greatest Moore Bond moments. Has your favourite moment made the cut? Until then, thanks for watching, and in the words of Moore's Bond in The Spy Who Loved Me, hope you enjoyed the show. Good night.